Hello, and welcome to the Wandering Creatives podcast. I'm your host, Allie Coots, and joining me today is Anna Peck of Home on Cottonwood. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
I am so excited to have you on the podcast and so happy that we were able to connect. You are the founder of Home on Cottonwood, which is a home decor and wreath shop based in Florida. And you make some of the cutest freaking wreaths I think I've ever seen. They're insane.
Thank you.
It's one of those moments where I was looking at your wreaths and I had to pause because they're of a level that doesn't look like they're handmade. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. I'm following you.
I was like, holy crap, like you actually make these with your hands, and that's insane to me because they're so like polished and well done. And also I'm just like so impressed by people who can make wreaths because I feel like you have just an amazing understanding of color and how it all works together.
Yeah, like it's crazy how sometimes because like my OCD would take over. Yeah, like I've been told that you should use odd number of flowers, and then like my OCD kick in. I'm like, oh, but if I do it to this side, I need to do it to this side.
Yeah.
Like I get in my head a lot, like when I'm creating like something, like when I'm like, oh, I don't like it, and then everyone's like, oh, it's so pretty. I'm like, no, it's not.
We are always our harshest critics, especially makers, because it's I say this pretty often, but we're putting a piece of ourselves into like everything that we make. So we're kind of like hypercritical of it.
Yeah.
And then, to hear other people just be like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we all kind of struggle with that. I don't know. I've had quite a few makers on the like makers and creatives on the podcast, and I'm finding it's something that a lot of us struggle with is kind of having that like self-confidence and getting over like that imposter syndrome, which I find really interesting. Like what is it about being a creative that kind of like psychologically makes us that way? I have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Anna, you are, like I said, currently based in Florida. Would love to learn a little bit more about you. So can you share a bit about who you are?
Yeah, like my name's Anna Peck. I am happily married to my husband. We got married actually in 2017. He's a truck driver. He drives from here to Destin, Panama City, and we have two girls. My daughter is 8. My stepdaughter is 16. So I'm a girl mom. You
got a teenager, you got a 16-year-old in there.
Mama of drama. And it's so funny, like my stepdaughter's always, you want to hear the latest tea? I'm like, what's the latest tea? Yeah. And I have 5 animals. My house is a zoo, 3 cats, 2 dogs.
And listeners, I've got to see all 3 cats, I think, and one of the dogs so far. And they're also just absolutely adorable. The cats kind of want to be the center of attention. Yeah. But they're adorable. Have you always like been into wreath making, or was that something that like just kind of happened?
I've always been kind of crafty. Like even when I was a kid, like I always like made my mom things. I was always the weird one when I was a kid. I was going to the craft department instead of the toy department. So I've always been kind of crafty. Wreaths, let's see. I have started wanting to hang stuff on my door back when I think I was pregnant with my daughter about 8 years ago. I just got into wanting to decorate my home and just wasn't happy with what you could buy at the store. Like, you just wasn't happy with it. I kind of just went and got a couple of supplies one day and just kind of made my own and went from there. And everyone's, maybe you should think about selling, or doing something on the side. And back then at the time, I was working full time. I was a single mom. And so really thinking much of it.
Mhm.
And it was kind of just like a craft, just to do when I had time. And then it kind of really and then there was a gap there for a while that I didn't even make anything. Like I just got busy with life and raising my daughter on my own. And so I didn't do hardly anything for a couple of years. And then I had ankle reconstruction surgery, which took me off my feet for a good 6 months.
Dang.
So yeah, like I couldn't walk for 6 months. So I kind of got back into it as a hobby, like something to do with my time while I was home. And I had a good friend of mine. She was hosting like a event thing on Facebook where a bunch of vendors like go in the group and like just post their sales, post their pictures. And she was like, hey, I need you want to be a vendor? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you can post your wreaths and stuff that you've made and everything, come up with the business name and just kind of go from there. And I was like, sure, why not? Let's just dive right in. And so like I created a business name and then I was like, oh, well, I might as well create a Facebook page. And it kind of just took off from there. Very unexpected. Yeah, like it happened. It was crazy how quick it happened and what took place, for it to happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely not surprised that you took off with your wreaths because, like I said, like I know I'm like fangirling, but they're like really just beautiful.
And it's so funny because like I have pictures of the very first wreaths I made, and it's so totally different like than when I first started. Because like I used to be scared to do the florals and the grapevine wreaths, and like nobody knows that that they intimidated me when I first started. So I always did the mesh and the ribbon, and things like that. And then, like I said, it kind of just happened again. I had a local lady request like a farmhouse style, and that is what blew it up. Like I had so many orders for that style, and this was when I think farmhouse was first kind of taken off. Like it was the brand new thing, and that is what guided me into doing grapevines and florals. Because, like I said, they used to intimidate me, and nobody, like when I say that to people, they're like, no, they're like, you can, I would never be able to tell you that.
Yeah, the one that I saw that I just fell in love with was like, I want to say it was like gray, like florals and like a matte kind of color almost to it. It wasn't as like, I don't know how to explain it, homey maybe. It was a little like darker, which is my aesthetic. And I was like, that's awesome. Like I loved it. When I think about doing a wreath, like where do you even start? And so I'm really curious to kind of hear more about what's your process like? Do you sketch everything out before you start, or you just kind of like start laying it in there and see what how it flows?
Yeah. A lot of it, if I do a custom, or not a custom one, but if I just put one together like off the top of my head, like I could literally be in Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and I'll just get an idea pop in my head from looking at the colors or looking at the flowers. Rarely plan what I'm gonna make unless it's an order for a specific style or things like that. Then I'll know what I'm doing. But majority of the time, like it literally hits me while I'm in the store, like just shopping. I thought about trying to sketch them out, but I can't draw worth a crap, to be honest. Yeah. So I'll just start picking out, and I'm like, oh, this would go the colors, and I'll compare them, put them next to each other in my buggy or whatever, and kind of just go from there. I think it has everyone does. I get inspiration from Pinterest. There's a lot of inspiration there, so I do get some ideas from that where I kind of like, I won't do it identically as that one, but I'll put like my own twist on it. So I try to get to do a routine of things, and yeah, my husband laughs at me because I can't keep a routine from it.
I love that. I love that it's like a natural kind of just like when the inspiration strikes. Like,
like when I could, like it's happened so many times. I told my husband I'm going to Hobby Lobby, and he's oh boy. Like he already knows. And I'm like, no, I just got to get this. I just got to get like a $10 little thing, and $200 later walking out, he's like, oh, just $10, huh? I'm like, yeah, just $10. Then I'll tell him, I'm like, honey, it's for a wreath. And he's like, and then I'll get it put all together and I'll show him. I'll be like, see? But bless his heart, he puts up with so much from me and my crazy antics. And he does a lot of woodworking. Like when he gets time, he's only home, like not home, but he's only off on weekends. But he does woodworking. Like he's built our table, he's built our bed frame, like gorgeous pieces. Like he's had people offer to.
Oh, wow.
So when he gets time, like he'll make something and like I'll post it on my page. If someone wanted to order one, they could, but it's not something I do regularly because he wouldn't have the time to fulfill orders or anything like that. And I can't work a scroll saw or anything. I don't know. I just see my finger getting chopped off if I try.
Yeah. Yep. I'm like, I would stay away from that too. Like, no thanks. I value my fingers too much.
Yeah. But I've made a couple like the little riser tables too, like the little wood riser tables. And bless his heart, I could go there and I could send him a picture and be like, I want to do this. I want to make this. And like, he'll cut wood and then he'll get me everything I need so I can do it. And there are times it'll sit in my craft room for a month. He's, what happened to that idea? I'm like, it's still there. I just haven't got to it yet.
You're too busy doing other craft things. It'll happen.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Like I have so many projects in my craft room. It's bad. Like I need a bigger room to be honest. But my husband's like, no, because then you'll just get more stuff if you have a bigger room. So
I feel like, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I know I've been working on the same knitting project now for the last 3 years because I'll like start on it and then I'll be like, oh, but I need to finish this drawing or the sticker or what. And I just keep like putting it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more room, the more stuff you can get for sure.
Oh yeah.
This episode of the Wandering Creatives podcast is sponsored by Coots Creations, branding and marketing for creatives by creatives. Coots Creations serves small businesses, entrepreneurs, and creatives throughout the country with branding, marketing, and social media management. We accomplish this by creating unique graphics, a cohesive visual brand, and content that tells your brand's story and builds trust with your customers. Visit cootscreations.com and book your free consultation today.
So you do like house or like cute little like signs and stuff too, that sometimes you like work them into your wreath and then I think you also sell them separately. Does your husband ever make those? Does he make those?
He has sometimes use what I got. I'm very big on like finding clearance finds and refurbishing them, redoing them.
Yes.
I do a lot of some signs like that. I'll buy it and it's just like a design that didn't sell, I'll sand it, paint over it. So the chalk couture, like what I do also, they have a lot of bases like sign, like the frames and everything all put together. So a lot of times I'll order from them and incorporate that in. But yeah, there's one wreath. I don't know if you saw it. It says "Welcome to the Shit Show."
Yeah,
that is one of my most popular wreaths. Believe it or not, it's so funny because everyone's like, "Oh, I need that." But that
I totally believe that. Yes, especially over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that it was about a year ago. Like I made like a whole little collection with that. Like I did the sign that you could do it on the wreath, which was a little bit smaller and it didn't have a frame, which basically just like I took a wood board and I cut it in half and painted it and sanded it and did the wording on it. And then I did a bigger kind of sign version of it. So if someone didn't want the wreath, they just wanted the sign, but they could hang that. I did that and I did like a whole little just like a little set with that and everything. That was one of my most popular things. But there are times like that's what pushed me into doing chalk couture was the ability to make my own signs, and I would never have to, because one of the things I struggled with when I did the mesh and the ribbons was you get a wreath and it's popular and you're selling it, but you can't find everything you need. You can't find the sign. If it's a popular design like everywhere, like right now, like just say like right now, leopard print is the hot thing right now with pumpkin.
Really?
Yes. Like in the wreath groups, like pumpkins and leopard print is the hot thing right now as far as wreath goes. So you go to all these supply websites that a lot of wreath makers use, and that sign's just sold out everywhere. Like, and you're kind of stuck. What do you do? So that's what kind of pushed me into doing chalk couture, was to make my own signs for a certain style, and that way I have because the stencils themselves, you can use up to, they say average is 15 times, but I've gotten 20 uses out of one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it is really awesome.
Could you explain a little bit about what Chalk Couture is? Because I when I was looking at all your shop and stuff prior to recording, I have never heard of that site before. Like I was like, what is this? So could you explain it?
So yeah, they are a company that makes self-adhesive transfers and reusable transfers. Basically, in layman terms, they're like sticky that you can wash and reuse. And then we have our chalk paste line that goes with it. You wouldn't want to use like regular paint because then it messes up the stickiness and everything. So yeah, the adhesive transfers, I want to say stencils, they're reusable. Like I said, averages 15 times. I've gotten 20 out of one uses. I know other people that's got multiple uses out of the same one. And that's what kind of persuaded me, I should say, to start using them, was to have that availability to make as many. And if I need to make more than that, then I just, if my stencil starts getting worn down, I just order another one. And so that is what pushed me to that. And the custom signs, like they have some adorable designs on it. Like you would not, and what I love about it is there's no weeding. Like I have a crew cut machine too. Like my husband got me that for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have that, but what I love about Chalk Couture is there's no weeding. There's no transfer tape. It's just paint and pull, or paste and pull is what they call it. Like you literally you put your transfer on whatever you want it on, and you use a squeegee and kind of go over it with the paste, and you pull it up, wash your transfer, and that's it. It's so, like, my 8-year-old does it. Like, she's done a live with me before doing it. So it's so easy, and you can run your business with them as you want. You can do finished goods, selling what you make. You can do it solely online. So like, I love it.
I'll have to look into it more because it sounds like it's a really good kind of alternative for folks that do kind of like sign stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I have a lot of people that do it for the signs, custom signs, because they're so, like, it blows my mind some of the creations I've seen other people make with it, like embossing, and there's just a lot. It blows my mind because I'm like, what? I'm like, how did you do that? So yeah, and they're grown. Like they're still a relatively new business. I think if I remember, they just started back in like 2017. They're really fairly new, and they're always improving, and they're growing. Like I've noticed a big growth in them since I've been with them. I like it. It's definitely something that's one of a kind. Like I'm starting to see a couple other companies do what they did, but they were the first to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also nice that you can sell just directly from their site.
Yeah. And that's what, you can do. And that was another thing. You can do craft shows. If you want to buy the transfers and go work a vendor booth at a craft show, you can do that too.
Oh.
So there's a lot of different avenues the way you can work with that.
Nice. And that was something else I wanted to discuss with you, because you primarily use your own site and then also Amazon handmade or home. Yeah. And that is complicated. So I'm always so impressed when I meet someone who has figured out like how to do Amazon correctly, because I have tried to sign up for it and just quit halfway through because I was like, what is this? And so when I saw you like Amazon Handmade seems to be like one of the primary platforms that you use. I'm really curious to kind of to get your opinion on selling on Amazon Handmade. And then also, what has your experience been from like beginning to filling out all the paperwork to now?
Well, it started out, the first application I did, basically, you send in your name and your business name and pictures of what you sell, what you make, and they do that. They approve or disapprove, or if they want your item, I guess. I don't know how they judge to approve you or not by what you sell. I applied before and I got denied, and I guess they didn't need re-inspecting. I don't know. Maybe my pictures wasn't wasn't what they were looking for. I'm not sure. But then my husband was like, just try again. So I wanted to kind of get away from that because I was just kind of irritated with them at the point. So I went to Amazon Handmade. I did the initial application. And then within a few hours, I got my approval email. Like, I was surprised how quick I got it. So then you have to go to another process of getting on the Amazon seller account, I think, or Seller Central is what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah. So that, like, I did that, and that confused me a lot because it was like, okay, you got to get approved for the handmade in order to do your next step. And so that took 2 or 3 days because it was like, you got to fill out this form and then you need to email this after you do that. And I was like, I got irritated at the moment. I was like, oh, and everything because they're like, oh, your account or is still, like, I got my approval email that I was approved, but they're saying it's still in review. So I didn't know what was going on there for a couple of days. And then finally it came through and they're like, okay, now you can move on through Seller Central. And so then they had to verify me. So I had to do a video appointment with them for them to verify me. Yeah. Like I had to, like when I applied, I had to fill out my information and my bank, like how I would want to get paid. And you actually have to submit your bank, like a bank statement showing that it is your name on the account. And so they verify you that way. You have to send in a picture of your driver's license or a photo ID. They verify you that way. And then while you're on that video call with the person, they have you hold up your ID so that they see that is like it's process. And then like after I first did it, like they were sending me, I was getting a ton of emails from them, like saying if I wanted to do Prime, I would basically have to do like a bulk order of things and send them to the fulfillment center. And I was like, but you don't have to do that. And that's what scared me. Like I thought I had to. I was like, like I wasn't ready to push out like 100 wreaths and hopes that they might sell. They could just sit there. You don't know. So that kind of scared me for a minute. I was like, like then I got kind of iffy about it. And then they were like, oh, you don't have to do that. That's just the option. So I was like, oh, okay. So because my house is not the biggest house and my craft room is not the biggest room, I basically do a lot of my wreaths as I go. Like I get the order and then I make them, unless it's just a design that I do like for fun in my spare time, because I don't have a lot of storage space and everything to store, especially with animals and all that. So that kind of eased my mind. And then you get into the whole thing of adding your product, and then they want you to have a SKU number. And I'm like, I've never had a SKU number.
Oh, yeah.
And then they give it their Amazon number. And so like that part I'm still learning because like I never do inventory. Like I don't keep product on hand. So I kind of just started off like it 10001, just simple, easy numbers. And then for the Amazon seller, there's usually, I guess, to sell on regular Amazon, I'm not sure, there's a $39.99 monthly fee. But then I guess if you do handmade, they waive that fee as long as you have active listings. They waive that fee.
See, that's where I got really confused because like I got to the Amazon seller part where it was like, okay, $39.99 a month. And it was like, do you want to sell worldwide? And it was just all, it was like an overwhelming amount of options.
Yeah.
And I thought I was in the handmade part of Amazon already. Didn't even realize it's like a whole separate process.
Yeah, there's like when I when I first started adding my stuff, I without even knowing, because there's like a Amazon Canada, and they approve you like for the 3 different ones. You can do USA, Canada, and I forget the third one. But I was actually like posting my items in the Canada, and I'm like, what? I'm like, and like it was so confusing. And so then I saw where I could like choose Amazon USA, and I'm like, oh boy. So like I had to go back, like re-add everything, and they're all separated. Like you don't just post your item and they just go out there. There's 3 different like marketplaces is what they call it: Canada, and I want to say United Kingdom was the third one, but I'm not 100% sure. And then you can approve, if you want, you can apply for international, which I don't even want to step into that one.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that. Like even now, I'm still slowly learning how to do the Canada because I've never done that. So it's definitely a process, and I'm still learning the process. Yeah.
It sounds like from like a user perspective, like Etsy might be easier to use, but it sounds like when you get everything figured out with the Amazon and the Amazon handmade, it might be a little more like there are less like fees, like you get to keep more of your income.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely say from comparison on my sales on Etsy compared to the sales I've had on my Amazon so far, I've definitely made more money from Amazon without the fees. Like, they're going to have their fees, of course, but I know with Etsy, just my personal experience, you have the Etsy ads and all that. And I did the Etsy ads because that was really, maybe I wasn't just working it right. I don't know. It seemed like that was the only way I got traffic, no matter how much I marketed it, how many people I sent to it or how many business cards I gave out. It seemed if I wasn't doing the ads, I wasn't getting no sales or anything. And I wasn't really happy with Etsy. So that's what kind of pushed me to do the Amazon.
Yeah, I think Etsy is its own thing with like keywords but that's kind of been my experience as well, even with focusing a lot on using the right keywords. It's something I found it's hard. Again, also my own personal experience. I haven't had great luck, I guess, driving traffic to my Etsy without doing Etsy ads. And that like you can spend a lot of money on the ads.
Yeah.
And the way they have it set up. And then,
It was the ads and it was like if I raised my price as high as I would need it to cover all that, they probably would.
No one would buy them. Yeah.
And a lot, because like I said, I'm in Little Milton, Florida. I love it. Let's just say it's redneck country almost. A lot of people, like I've noticed, and there's a lot of other wreath makers in the area, that do the smaller like $25 wreaths, and I would love to be able to make one of my wreaths for that, but I would make no money. But I know locally my price range around here, a lot of people won't pay over like $80, and that pushed down locally, but not internationally. But when I started shipping out of state and all over the country, that's when I really started picking up more sales, because it seemed like people not local were willing to pay that little bit of a higher price. But if I was to charge that price locally, I've posted some of my more expensive wreaths on local things, and they don't. So I know my local area. So
I feel like pricing is yet another thing that a lot of us struggle with because it is, if you want to make money off of, even to make the money back that you've spent on the supplies to make whatever you're making, you have to charge quite a bit. Like, I don't know anything about wreath making, but I imagine it can get quite expensive with everything that you have to get to do it.
About a year ago, like I was selling a lot of mostly my signs. I had a local boutique reach out to me about wanting to just sell my signs in the store. And I was like, okay. And again, locally, the cost it would take to make the sign, I wasn't getting back, because the boutique, well, do you want to run a sale? And I'm like, yeah. And then every month, like after the booth rental fee and all that, like I would make maybe $30 off of it, because the signs that I was making, the cost, a lot of people, and it's sad to say, people don't want to, they want the high quality, but they want the Walmart price. And that was the issue I was having. Like I had a piece up there. It was like the board itself was like $100 board. And because it was like the vintage, like ceramic, it was a Christmas calendar, like counting down to Christmas. And it had a little snowman that you put on the days. And it was like a vintage style frame. Like it was and it was a large piece. I'm talking like 18 by 24. Like it was a large piece, and it just didn't sell because people locally didn't want to pay that high price. But as soon as it went on sale after Christmas and it sold for half off, I lost money, on that, and I kept losing money. And then of course COVID happened, so that put a lot of damper on anything type locally for a while.
Did you start doing the Amazon handmade when COVID hit, or had you already kind of set that up prior to?
No, I've only been with Amazon a couple of months. And so I said, that's relatively new. Like I said, I'm still learning Amazon. But back when, and it blew my mind, back when COVID hit, my sales blew up. And yes. And I don't know if it was because people were home more, maybe, but being home more, they wanted to be surrounded, by pretty things. To make you a better, like, I guess if you're going to work from home, your environment, you want it a certain way. And it blew my mind that literally, I think it was around the fall season when COVID hit and everything, like my autumn wreaths like blew up. And I was surprised. I was like, what? I was like, what if, what? I'm thinking that sales are going to drop because people aren't working. Like in my mind, I was preparing for that, but it went like total opposite.
That's interesting. Yeah. I wonder if it was a mix of, like you said, like people being stuck at home and wanting to dress up their area a bit. And then also just everyone having more time to like spend cruising the internet and buying things.
Yeah. Because even like sometimes I haven't done it often. I actually need to get better about doing it. I'll put together like little kit, and I have like a separate group from my business page, like a VIP type group where if I do sales, they're like the first to know, things like that. But I also have done like little kits where if someone wants to make their own little project or their own little sign, it comes with everything you need to make that project.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's super fun.
That became pretty popular too, especially like with grandparents wanting to do stuff with their grandkids, or moms wanting to do something with their little one, because everybody was home from school, everybody was home from work, they needed something to do, and if you have a child like my daughter, my 8-year-old, she's obsessed with a tablet. So you want something to get them off electronics, for a little bit. So those were popular too.
Do you know what goes great with listening to podcasts? If you said a warm drink, you're absolutely right. Just imagine you're sitting back, you're listening to your favorite podcast, all while holding a nice, cute-ass mug in your hand with your favorite hot beverage in it. If you're wondering, where can I get a mug like that? Well, you're in luck. You can swing by the Coots Creations Cute Coffee and Tea Mugs Etsy shop. They've got everything from enamel coffee cups to travel mugs, all featuring adorable original artwork. Head over to etsy.com/shop/Coots Creations and use promo code WANDER for 10% off any mug.
I guess the thing too that I like about, what pushed me more this way, to running my own business is to be able to be there for my family, be there for my kids, because raising a teenager is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I will just say that have a bottle of wine ready, because it's not the easiest.
Also, I imagine an amazing way to decompress at the end of the day would be like a glass of wine, and you can sit down and you can make your own wreath with your little wreath.
And I've done that. So there's nothing like my husband knows when I'm in my groove, when I'm in my wreath room. That's what we call it, my wreath room. And I got Pandora playing, and he can hear me singing from the bedroom, like I'm just in my own little world. And he's like, and I've caught him taking like video of me like working and singing. I'm like, really?
Oh my gosh, it sounds like he is like the perfect partner for crafty.
He helps me a lot. Like I said, I can get a project in my head. I'm like, honey, I need this and this, and he'll just kind of give me that look, like, really? Like what? Like, or there's been times we've done a project together. Like he'll be putting something together. Like he's making something for my daughter right now. And he was like, can you make the vinyl lettering and all that? It's nice having someone who supports you, in the crazy antics of running a small, crafty little business,
Oh yeah. Like this having a good support system is definitely a must.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, as we kind of wrap up, do you have any kind of like last words of advice that you'd like to share with other makers out there?
Don't give up on yourself so easily. I will say if it's something you're passionate about, don't give up on it. I went through a depression there for a while after I had got real sick and I took some time off. And, I struggled to get back on my feet. I have to say my business suffered a little bit and I just had to find my passion again. So I would say don't be so hard on yourself if you have to take a break and take a step back. Like, because I've had to do that for my own personal sake, just because of things going on family wise and life happening. And like I said, I had got sick and I got put in the hospital. So for my own reason, I had to take a step back. And I can just say, if you find yourself in that and you take a step back, don't think you can't come back from it. That was my hard thing, was getting myself back in the groove. Like I had to read a lot of positive affirmations and just kind of, hype myself back up, post a wreath on a random page and just let the compliments come in, let them accept them, and say, yeah, I got this, I can do this. Because I tell you what, with 2 girls and a husband and 5 animals, life happens. Life has happened.
That is, I think those are amazing words for people like to hear. Yeah. Don't give up on yourself so easily, and don't be afraid to take a moment and just rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I want to be a positive, I don't want to say role model, but I want to be an inspiration for my daughter to know that you can do something you love and you can support your family or however you decide to do. And I'm very independent. Don't get me wrong, I depend on my husband, but I still say I'm independent. I want her, to see that, and I want her to be that way. So she is my inspiration to do good. And yeah.
No, I love it. And I imagine, like, I don't have kids, but I imagine like it is her being able to see that you can, like you said, take something that you love and that you're very passionate about and turn it into a successful business will stick with her entire life. And it's also helps with knowing, because I feel like a lot of folks, like probably around our age, right? Like we grew up and we were like, oh, we have to go to college, we got to get a job, we got to work in a real job. And
and don't get me wrong, I did that. I went to college. I worked in the hospital. I worked in the medical field, and I worked in the hospital for a couple of years. And that side of things can depress you. Like working in the hospital, like it, I liked it. I loved helping people. I was good at, I was a lab tech. I was a vampire. I was the one around taking blood from people. And I loved what I did at the time and I was good at it. But then I had injured my ankle and led to the surgeries and all that. So I couldn't go back to that. And so to be able to have this happen, like just, I would say naturally, like just to start doing it and to be able to have some type of income to do whatever, my little side things like that. Don't get me wrong. My husband is he's still the main income person, but it's nice to have this on the side. And it helps me personally with stress and anxiety, like to just go in your craft room and just let it all go for a while and just create what's ever in your head. To me, that's my therapy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're speaking like hard, like facts right now. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And yeah, your kids are like super lucky to be able to kind of live in that creative environment. And then also know that if they want to do like a creative business, they totally can. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and I have to say, I've had such an amazing time talking with you today and learning more about you and wreath making and also your experience with Amazon handmade, because I really think a lot of people struggle with that.
It's still, like I said, I'm still relatively new to it. I've only been on it a couple of months. and I'm still learning.
Where can folks find you? Like on social media and your website? Like
I am on Facebook. Just type in the home on Cottonwood, and I'm on Instagram and Amazon Handmade, and recently got on TikTok.
oh, what's your TikTok?
All one word, home on Cottonwood.
Awesome. Well, Anna, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
And it's
excited.
It's been so amazing just hearing about your journey and how you got started. And for listeners, you, as Anna said, you can follow Home on Cottonwood and Anna on Instagram at home_on_Cottonwood, on Facebook at Home on Cottonwood, Amazon, Handmade, and TikTok. And I will include all the links and information in the episode description, so you'll be able to easily find her. And I would highly recommend that everyone check out her wreaths and her signs because they're freaking adorable. And again, Anna, thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolute pleasure having you.
It was so fun being here. I enjoyed it so much.
And listeners, I also want to thank you for tuning in. And be sure to like, rate, and review the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, you can text or call us on our hotline at 252-419-6004, and we'll answer your questions on a future episode of the podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at wandering_creative_, and I would maybe check out our website, cootscreations.com.
This has been a Coots Creations production. Follow the show on Instagram at wandering_creative_ and on Twitter at wandering_pod. For more information, go to cootscreations.com. Like, rate, review, and subscribe. To sponsor the Wandering Creatives podcast, visit www.cootscreations.com/podcast-sponsorship-opportunities. You can also click the link in the episode description below. To be a guest or a featured maker on the podcast, click the link in our Instagram bio or contact us at cootscreationsllc@gmail.com.